what advice would you give to people who are struggling with depression? And maybe for the people who love the people who are struggling with depression.
So what I have found to be most successful for me, it's back to the basics of everything that the therapist or psychologist will tell you, psychiatrist will tell you right when you meet them, which is exercise every day, eat healthy for sure, find time, make time every day to do something that you love, whatever that may be, whatever brings you joy. And you might, and when you're really depressed, that actually feels like nothing, because the things that brought you joy don't bring you joy anymore when I'm really in the thick of it. But for me, this is the cycle that I'll go through is I'll look at my life and I'll say, okay, what can I clean up? All right, well, for me, it was cutting out alcohol actually helped me a lot. I know that sounds like big. I'm not judging anybody for that, and I still, drink on occasion, but I have felt like alcohol has been very unhelpful to my mental state. Feel less drive and less happiness the next day for things that I want to do. I feel like it plays a lot with your serotonin.
So look for stuff to change.
Clean living, yeah, clean living, but also understanding that sometimes it just is, and you just keep breathing, and it will get better with time.
This too shall pass.
This too shall pass. Like I really think that in the winter, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I've seen a lot of therapists, and all of them say the same thing, which is like, you have major depressive disorder, and this is what it is. But it's certainly worse for me in the winter months. So I know there's I can't think of the term for it, but there's a term for like seasonal depression. There it is. So I'll get to the winter, and suddenly I'm like, geez, everything really sucks on a deeper level. And then, so it's like this too shall pass is another thing. It's like, just practice those things. Absolutely see a therapist. That's my biggest emphasis of life is to, like, on stage, like, my goal, like, I have a few things that I really, really care about. One is mental health and destigmatizing therapy. Because for me, I didn't go to therapy for a long time because I felt that it would be admitting that I was broken. It'd be admitting that I was weaker than Lex, who doesn't have to go to a therapist because Lex is stronger. So be strong like Lex. I would look at all my older brothers, and I looked up to them so much, and they were all these incredibly successful people: plastic surgeon, an anesthesiologist, a dentist, 2 attorneys, Stanford, NYU, just incredible high standards, Eagle Scouts, they valedictorians, they just did it all. So for me, I was really did not want to admit, and none of them went to therapy. So it was like, what are you going to be? You're broken? Are you like the weak one who can't hack life? And I think that's incredibly dangerous. And I feel like it almost cost me my life because I took so long to finally go to therapy. So I really want kids to know, hey, the great people that achieve great things, that are doing amazing things, they probably have help. Almost all of them.
It's like going to the gym, but it's a mental gym. So I wanted to be a psychiatrist when I was growing up. Maybe that's why I like podcasts. I
think you'd be a good one.
Maybe I would.
I think you are a psychiatrist, pretty much, right? Sounds like you're a psychiatrist.
I think I need more. I think actually to be a good psychiatrist, you also need to be seeking therapy from you also need to have some stuff to work through in your mind.
Right.
I think, you have to have gone to some dark places.
Empathize.
The empathy. It's this ability to empathize, and especially if you've directly experienced it, you can go to those places in your mind. Like you said, it's with the music. To be authentic, you have to really go there. Why did therapy help so much? What is the process of therapy? If you can just educate a little more. Are you basically bringing to the surface and talking through things that because of the momentum of life, you just never allow yourself to speak through, to think through? Is that what therapy is? Or is there some more systematic thing?
So I've been to a lot of strange different kinds of therapy. So I'll tell you, my first therapist.
If I could sort of interrupt, how hard is it to find a therapist that connected with you?
It is it's actually pretty hard. I think it for well, actually, I have a skewed view of that because my, going back to the beginning of my therapy was with a Mormon therapist. So it was very much like, well, are you reading your Book of Mormon and are you praying at night? You know what I mean? Like that was a big focus of my therapy to begin with.
And you're having
yeah,
a faith crisis in the distance
yes,
somewhere.
yeah, it's like, well, and then
You're making it worse.
yes, the next therapist I went to was a Scientology therapist. I met my wife and she was Scientologist at the time and she's not anymore. She's like, it's such a funny thing to look back on because we met and I was like this Mormon missionary who had just got home from his mission and I met her and she's a Scientologist. I was like, wow, that's batshit crazy. Like, and like that stuff's crazy. And she's like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. You're Mormon. That's batshit crazy. And the two of us were like, huh. Maybe there's something to this, to both of us here.
Yeah, the tension actually forces you to think through, like, oh, well, what is true? What is
and we really fell in love through that, which was like, maybe we're both on the wrong track. Let's figure this out. But before that happened, we went to a Scientologist therapist who that therapy consisted of, what have you done wrong to Asia? And they would ask me that question over and over and over and over until I'm like thinking of the deepest, darkest things that were in the recesses of my mind. This was this was marriage therapy. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that, but it was Scientology therapy. So that was a different thing. And then I went to therapy, like no, not attached to any religion. And that was a really great experience for me. And since then I've been through a couple different therapists, but that was more because where I was and moving and things like that. So is it that hard to find a great therapist? Probably not, but maybe don't go to your Mormon therapist first and then Scientology therapist. Or maybe that's the route for you. Maybe it's the route for you. I don't know.
Yeah, but is it bringing stuff to the surface, basically?
So I didn't even answer your question.
What's the effect? Why is it so effective? Just, is there something you could put words to?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously there's the common things you would think of, which is like, oh, I've been holding these things in and I don't want to tell anybody. And then I tell this person and, oh, there's relief in that. But that's really not where the real work comes from. I think the real work is meeting with someone who is well-versed and educated and understands. It's like coding. It really is. It's like someone who like, they listen to you and they're like, well, that was a trigger. And then this became this trigger. And you're probably every time you're hearing that, thinking of this thing that happened earlier in your life. And they just will walk you through scenarios. And maybe some of them aren't right, but some of them you'll be like, it'll resonate. Sometimes you're like, wow, I am feeling that because of that. And that did happen. And maybe if I call my mom and say this to her, it will make me feel better. Hey, mom, this happened. It's like work. You put in work and you have hard conversations and do difficult things. And if your therapy is not difficult, I actually think that's not good therapy. Good therapy is, it's going to be a little difficult. It's work. Like
during and after.
Yes. Like I had this incredible therapist I told him when I was going to do ayahuasca, he was like, geez, he had actually was a doctor before and a really well-educated, studied person who had walked away from brain doctor. What's the word for that? Brain doctor.
Brain surgeon?
Neurologist.
Oh yeah, neurologist. Yep.
And he said, well, basically his belief was that ayahuasca was like basically doing therapy, like 50 sessions. He was like, it's like really intensive. He's like, I don't know if you want to do that. If you do, you can make some big steps forward. But I prefer just to do one session at a time. And so yeah, it's hard work. Yeah. And that I typically like. It's really hard for me to even talk about ayahuasca. By the way, going back to that, because I'm not looking to tell everybody to go do ayahuasca. It's incredibly hard. It was the scariest experience of my entire life. It felt like I went to heaven, but it also felt like I went to the darkest, deepest hell that was incredibly scary. Incredibly scary. Yeah.